businesses await a ruling on coronavirus closures.
A judge is expected to make his decision today. We hear from attorneys on both sides coming up.
Plus, Governor Gavin Newsom and his family are under quarantine after his children were possibly exposed to COVID-19.
Most people need to be immunized before we can go back to a normal life.
New information this morning on when a vaccine will be available.
There's a lot more people here than I thought would be here.
The pandemic and a warning from the CDC isn't stopping millions of Americans from traveling for the holidays. And a local doctor breaks down everything you need to know to stay safe this Thanksgiving. You're up with News 8.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning to all our News 8 faithful morning viewers out there. This is also the time of year where we get a lot of visitors coming in and they're surfing around. So good morning to you as well, and welcome to America's finest city.
Yes, welcome to San Diego. Hope you're up with us, enjoying some coffee. The weather is awesome if you compare it to across the nation, Netta.
True.
It's going to be a beautiful week.
Yeah, we're looking at 60s, so that for us is a little bit cooler than normal, in fact. But yeah, overall, it's not the 30s and 40s that other parts of the country are dealing with. Let's take you above the clouds to start things off, looking out towards the east as we wait for that sun to come on up. Still about 25 minutes away from the official sunrise, but you see those clouds that are hanging low. We do have that morning marine layer, a little dense fog in some areas. It'll be cooler today, down into the 60s for us, and then onshore flow continues through Wednesday. Santa Ana winds arrive on Thanksgiving, but this one also a cooler Santa Ana kind of event, so cool and dry conditions for your Thanksgiving day. As far as traffic goes, I'm filling in for Jenny, and we do have just that fog hanging around places like the 56, the 67. If you're in Poway, you may run into some of that. We'll keep an eye on the visibility map for you and let you know. And then the 76 westbound, just west of College Boulevard, there's some sheet metal in the number 1 and number 2 lane. Someone lost their sheet metal, so officers will hopefully be there quick to clear that up. Back to you.
Netta, thank you. Today, we could get a better idea about the future of indoor operations as local businesses are dealing with more restrictions now.
Yeah, a judge is expected to rule on the lawsuit from 2 local restaurants as well as 2 local gyms. News 8's Evan Arani is live in Mission Beach to break down what's at stake. Good morning, Evan.
Good morning, Stella and Eric. That's right. This could be a big decision made by a San Diego judge where 4 businesses are bringing this class action lawsuit forward, saying that they want to be able to reopen against those tiered guidelines, that it may be the only hope to keep their business open. And that's 2 restaurants and 2 gyms, saying that they believe that the current tiered system set up by the government is a violation of their constitutional rights. They say they've suffered irreparable injury already and are trying to avoid any further injury.
The restaurants are not asking for anything other than being treated in a similar fashion as to other industries.
We are in a spike that's unlike what we've seen in this pandemic. And the pandemic itself is the worst pandemic, something we haven't seen in over 100 years.
The local businesses included are Cowboy Star Restaurant, Home and Away Restaurant, Fit Athletic, and Bear Republic. Those are both gyms. Attorneys representing these businesses say that they will suffer substantial harm unless a court declares Governor Newsom's tiered reopening system as, quote, unlawful. They're also suing the County of San Diego, calling its enforcement of the state's regulations a deprivation of rights. One of the key points in their lawsuit is that some businesses simply don't have the option to move outdoors, so they will be left to close entirely. An attorney for those businesses says that he feels that the case rate percentage that dictates what tier a county is in is essentially arbitrary and doesn't make sense. The state is arguing that in the interest of public safety, those businesses need to stay closed. Now, there is a multitude of options that could come forward in the decision making by the judge today. A judge could grant that temporary restraining order, allowing them to reopen. The judge also could grant a preliminary injunction, allowing them to reopen temporarily while they are under litigation. There also is the possibility that a judge strikes this down and says that those businesses still need to follow state guidelines. We're expecting a decision from the court just around the noon hour today or earlier. We'll let you know what we hear here and on CBS8.com. Back to you.
Evan, thank you. Governor Gavin Newsom and his family under quarantine this morning after 3 of his 4 children were exposed to a CHP officer who tested positive for COVID-19. The governor's office says they were made aware of the exposure on Friday night, and neither the governor nor his wife Jennifer had contact with the officer. All the members of the family have tested negative, but they will still remain in quarantine for the next 14 days. After Saturday's record of more than 1,400 new coronavirus cases, county health officials are reporting 939 new cases out of just over 20,000 tests. That's a positive rate of just under 5%. Hospitals are now at 75% capacity countywide, with 32 new COVID hospitalizations. 2 new deaths to report here, so our county total is 968 now. Across the country, cases in the U.S. crossed the 12 million mark on Saturday.
And the University of Oxford and AstraZeneca say their vaccine is up to 90% effective in preventing COVID-19. Trials for the vaccine were most effective when patients were given half a dose, followed by a full dose at least 1 month later. AstraZeneca says this confirms that its vaccine will be highly effective against coronavirus. And we are learning Americans could be vaccinated in just a few weeks. This could happen as early as December 11th. The head of Operation Warp Speed, Dr. Moncef Slaoui, says the FDA vaccine advisory committee is scheduled to meet December 10th. If the committee issues an emergency use authorization for Pfizer's vaccine, it could be rolled out the next day. Experts say healthcare workers and the elderly and people with underlying medical conditions will get the vaccine first. And another big step in the effort to control COVID-19, the FDA has cleared Regeneron's antibody treatment for emergency use, giving patients with mild to moderate symptoms a boost to fight the virus. President Trump received Regeneron, the treatment, when he was diagnosed with COVID-19 last month. And this morning, we are seeing more Americans travel ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday, despite pleas and warnings from health officials.
And this comes as we deal with those rising COVID cases we just explained. News 8's Teresa Sardina live at San Diego International Airport. How are things looking out there?
Good morning to Eric and Stella. Well, honestly, I didn't think it was going to be this busy this morning. Just take a look at that traffic, but usually it is more busier this time of year. Many people we spoke to, they want to travel. They want to visit their friends and family or take a vacation, but then there's also safety, so it is a gamble. The CDC recommends that people not gather this holiday weekend, and AAA reports that 92% of Southern Californians will drive if they do decide to travel, but still thousands of people will travel by air in San Diego. AAA said it expects the amount of traveling to decrease by 13% from the travel season last year because of the coronavirus pandemic and the extra restrictions. Testing for COVID-19 in San Diego County has gone up recently, especially since entering the purple tier. Even with increased testing and new restrictions, some travelers News 8 spoke to on Sunday are willing to take the risk.
To go to Hawaii, you have to have a test 72 hours before your flight. So we had to have a negative test to show when we got there. And yeah, it was pretty simple. They just give you rules.
Yes, they give you rules and you must follow them. Dr. Anthony Fauci wants travelers to keep in mind when you're at an airport, you're around a lot of people. You are in line, you're on an airplane, so you are putting yourself at risk. So wear a mask, socially distance, wash your hands, use sanitizer, because you are at risk traveling this holiday season. And many travelers we spoke to that are pulling up here, they tell us that they're feeling comfortable and that they are taking the risk. Eric?
All right, Teresa, thanks for that. San Diegans have been lining up for testing ahead of the holiday here. Take a look. This was the scene in Linda Vista over the weekend. Many say they're trying to get tested ahead of Thanksgiving gatherings to reduce the risk of spreading COVID to their loved ones. So to find a testing site near you, go to CBS8.com and just click on the help button. Coming up at 6:30, a local doctor is answering your questions about Thanksgiving gatherings and how to stay safe while traveling for the holiday.
And if you are traveling, I don't know why you'd want to go anywhere.
Right?
Why would you want to go
I know.
anywhere?
It's a great excuse for a staycation right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, really, anything you can do elsewhere, you can do it better here. I mean, we do have pretty nice, comfortable weather for this week, so no major changes, just a slight cool down today. In fact, you'll see from above the clouds, this is San Miguel's camera looking out towards the west, and that's that marine layer rolling right up along the mountains. In fact, we're seeing it east of our mountains as well. So it has been pushed pretty far inland because of an onshore onshore flow, and that's what's going to keep us fairly cool today. In the 60s, though, other parts of the country, they're in the 30s and 40s for their afternoon highs. Today, we'll be in the mid-60s. Not too bad, right? As far as visibility goes, we've been checking on this throughout the day to let you know where some of that fog is settling in. Ramona and Fallbrook look to be those trouble locations. The rest of you, that marine layer is picking up a little bit, so that does mean it's lifted off of road level, so hopefully you won't run into that. As far as temperatures, yeah, it's a little chilly in some spots. In the 40s in Ramona, 45 Alpine, you're at 51 in El Cajon, 57 downtown, 51 in Chula Vista. So 40s and 50s, some of you a little bit warmer this hour. That cloud kind of coverage kind of keeping that warmer air in place, but Ramona, you're cooler. Palomar Mountain, you are cooler. Same with Fallbrook as well, by about 5 to 9 degrees. If you want to go to the beach, we have you covered there. 1 to 3 foot waves. Rip current risk will be low. It is 59 degrees on average across our beaches, so the water is feeling pretty cool out there. High tide 5:20, so it just happened. Low tide will be around 11:20 this morning. No big changes between high and low tide, no major fluctuations. Hiking forecast, it's a pretty good day to go out and check out Potato Chip Rock. By 2 p.m. it'll be in the mid-60s. So again, we'll see temperatures in the 60s throughout most of this week. Let's also check in on traffic and let you know what's going on as far as the roads go. Yeah, this is the area where the weather could be an issue. In between Fallbrook all the way to Oceanside, this area, you may run into some of that low-lying cloud coverage. So the dense fog out there, the 15, the 56, the 67 also may be a little bit foggier as well for that commute. And then there seems to be an issue with sheet metal. I don't know if this is one truck that's just kind of letting this fly out of the bed of the truck, but on the 78 now going west, just west of Emerald Drive, there are metal sheets in the #1 lane now. So we had that on the 76 a few minutes ago and now the 78.